Summer is known as intern season on Capitol Hill, but the reality is interns are hard at work year-round in my offices in D.C. and across the state. Interns provide invaluable assistance to our efforts to serve North Dakotans, from answering phones and giving tours of the Capitol to doing research, attending briefings, and drafting letters and briefing memos for our Ledge team. They are a really important part of a smoothly running U.S. Senate office. Their work is mostly behind the scenes, but today on The Hot Dish, you're going to hear from two interns from North Dakota, one current and one former, about the unique experience of interning on Capitol Hill and the importance of giving back to their communities. Moe Omar interned in my office in 2016, both in Fargo and in Washington, D.C., and his journey has been nothing short of incredible. Moe was forced from his home in the country of Sudan by war and arrived in Fargo as a refugee in 2009. Despite the trauma and obstacles that he faced, he quickly learned English, got a degree in political science from NDSU, focused his life on helping others, from his internship in my office to his current position at the U.S. Institute for Peace, working to resolve conflicts back in his home country of Sudan. Our current intern, Alexis Young, hails from West Fargo. She is a rising senior at the University of Jamestown studying communications, social media, marketing, and graphic design. And even though she has a full plate of coursework, Alexis finds time to volunteer for a variety of causes and organizations, from cancer research to Special Olympics and the Goodwill. And she also serves as secretary of the University of Jamestown Student Senate. Wow. She's already on her way to leadership. Moe and Alexis, welcome to The Hot Dish. I think I'm going to start with you, Moe. And obviously your tract is a little bit different from Alexis, but tell us why you wanted to be an intern, both in Fargo and in D.C., and how that internship really helped formulate your current work.
Definitely. First of all, thank you very much for having me today. It's great to talk to you, Senator. It's always great to hear from you and to talk to you, as you are one of the people who really inspired me to be where I am today. So to answer your question about why I wanted to intern in Fargo and then in Washington, D.C., to be honest, you know about my background. I came from a place that is filled with conflict, and I always wondered how I could be in a place where I can help people regardless of where I am. So always that have been in my mind. And when I was at NDSU and volunteered for your campaign and just learned a lot of great things you're doing for North Dakota and for America for that matter, I felt inspired to join your team, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. So I was just inspired by the amazing work you're doing for North Dakota and for America in general. When I would join in Fargo, North Dakota, it was a wonderful experience, just meeting people, learning about what they care for, and, your constituents, just interacting with them day to day and attending meetings with you and just learning about what they care for and how you can help them and how you can alter, their situation to better, how you could argue for policies that just, better North Dakota and better America. I mean, all that inspired me. Also, I wanted to be on this track for my own future career. I wanted to be in a place where I can somehow influence policy or impact positive change, So generally, I had this college big dreams that were very general. But as I got to intern for you in Fargo, North Dakota, and then in Washington, D.C., I had a clear understanding of what area I wanted to focus on and what I wanted to work on. So, a bunch of things, but generally speaking, what you're doing, what your office is doing, and how North Dakotans are engaged in what you're doing just generally inspired me to get involved.
Yeah, I think, your track follows mine. I was an intern 3 times in my college career. Someone suggests I didn't like the classroom much. I interned in Washington, D.C. and Congress when I was a junior. and then I interned at the state legislature. And I always thought my work would be federal, but I fell in love with the state legislature when I was an intern in my senior year and of college, and it really shifted my focus. It was interesting because I always thought my focus would be more on federal policy, but I got very interested in state policy, and then eventually, after during law school, I came back to DC as another intern. And each one of those experiences, I remember lessons learned and help shape kind of my career. And that's what we're hoping will happen for Alexis. So, what do you hope to get out of your internship, Alexis?
Oh, wow. Well, I think there's a lot of things that I hope to take away from this, but the biggest one is probably just gather some great experience, meet some fantastic people, and just really learn the core values of how Congress works and what our senators, especially you, Senator Heitkamp, is doing to benefit our state back home so that I can go home and try to put this into motion on a smaller scale, possibly.
When you think about the work that you're doing, especially in communications, everybody, I think people think that's fluff, but it's so important that we tell people these are the issues that we're considering. If you want to weigh in, you've got to weigh in these ways, and you've got to pay attention. One of the great examples of what our team's been able to do is something called Fix My Mail. We kept hearing about problems with the mail delivery. And finally, the team came up with an idea. Well, why don't we just say fix our mail and tell people if you've got a concern or a complaint, weigh in. And all of a sudden, we got 500. Really, we didn't have to promote it much at all. They just kind of happened organically. And it really has driven, here's the point, it really has driven a priority for us on the Postal Service that maybe wouldn't have been a priority without the Ledge team and the communications team working together. And I think for you, one of the opportunities you have is to look at how that communication piece, which is part of your curriculum, how that communication piece can be so important in terms of not only driving kind of the policy we adopt, but the priorities that we use.
Right, for sure. The best way to drive communication, it's so interesting how people regulate and how they take information personally. And so how you spread it out is so important, and especially in today's age with social media and how fast information is spread and released, it really just continues to become more and more important.
So this is a question for both of you. How can we inspire more North Dakota kids to do internships, and then when we get them here, we work them pretty hard to convince them that they want to run for office someday. So I just need to get an audience on a regular basis to convince young people. And I think what's been rewarding for me is talking, especially to the summer interns. A number of people have said they would never have thought about pursuing a career in public life had they not interned. They would have said, well, that's not for me. But once they get here, they see the opportunity to make a difference. So how can we get more young people to step up and volunteer to be interns? And by the way, we pay our interns. It's not just volunteer.
Yeah. So to me, you don't have to just be interested in politics to intern in Washington, D.C. or in Fargo. If you're interested in any leadership role in an organization or company or I don't know, whatever it might be, I think interning for a U.S. Senator is a great opportunity, and here's why. There is a great chance for you to interact with constituents and learn about, what they care for and how they approach those, issues. And then on the back end, or the front end, you have the senator who is implementing or arguing for policies and then enacting policies. I mean, this is a great thing in action. In addition to that, you get to meet incredible people who have achieved everything. I went to meetings with you. I met with people from North Dakota who run companies or who are in private sector or public sector, people who are in education, people who are, in NGOs in North Dakota, people who are working for the government, but they're doing civil work, so you meet people from a different range of, backgrounds, and you meet people who are really inspired and really inspiring at the same time, and doing amazing work.
Well,
and in addition to all of this, I'm going to mention that it's a paid internship, and you're going to be in Washington, D.C., so that's the best.
Well, one thing I will say, Moe, and I really appreciate what you just said, because I think a lot of people think, well, if you don't want to be a politician, if you don't want to be a lawyer, if you don't want to be involved in public policy, but public policy affects every profession. And so if you want to be a banker, come here. I mean, to learn banking regulation and how that's made. We serve on the banking committee. And I really appreciate your point being well taken, that it's not just about the poli-sci piece of this. We've had fellows from Customs and Border Protection who have really enjoyed their time here. We've had pharmacists who have come and learned public policy. We have defense interns who we get from various organizations. And I think, their career is going to be in public policy, or their career is going to be with a company, but they still have an advantage having been here. So, Alexis, how can we get some of you guys to make application and come on out, or even in the state offices? I think Moe's a great example where both of those experiences were very, very valuable.
Well, I'm going to stick to what I know. I definitely say communication. The one thing that I know sparked for me was I went to a job fair and I met with one of your reps who was there advocating your internships. And that was where I got my first, hey, this is pretty cool, looked into it. And after talking to other people about it, they didn't even know that this was an opportunity, and they were so shocked, and they told me, well, you aren't really into politics or anything. And I said, well, no, but some of the things she's working towards, I also feel very passionate about. Working with a senator's press team is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and getting to be a part of that public service is all in its own amazing and just definitely one of a kind. And so I think just getting out into communities, going to local universities, and just talking with students would be the best way to drive them, to bring them in.
Well, it's interesting. I had when I was Attorney General, I interviewed a young lawyer, and she had been the press intern for Senator Conrad, and I knew his Senator Conrad's press communications director, and I called her up and I said, what do you think, Lori, about Carmen? And she said, one of the best I ever had. So it's a great reference, too, for all of you out there who are thinking about maybe doing this, that it can pave the way, because they know that you've had that experience, and you'll meet people who are trusted to provide advice, and you'll have an opportunity. And it's not fluff. A lot of our I'm not criticizing other people's internship programs, but we expect our interns to work, and they become a very valuable part of the office, and they do very substantive work. And so, and a lot of them eventually come to work for us. We get to see their work ethic every day, and we get excited about that. But I just think that at the end of the day, what we need to do is encourage young people to at least look at public service. Mm-hmm. And that can be a broad range, not just running for office, although we need more people running for office, but it can be people who are going to work in government relationship offices for corporations. It can be people who are going to be bankers and make decisions on whether they give loans or not, and understand banking policy or understand Homeland Security. It can be law enforcement. People are in criminal justice. We serve on the Homeland Security Committee. That there's a great spot to learn about the integration of federal, local, and state and tribal law enforcement officers. And so it's very rich. It's not just about making laws. It's about public policy and getting out there and working with so many of the great citizens of North Dakota. I think one of the most rewarding things, and I think Mohi will probably say that, you can work on the big policy issues, which happens a lot in Washington, D.C., but if you work in our local office, you literally can make the difference for a family. We had an intern who worked with a family and eventually resolved a Medicaid complaint. And that Medicaid complaint meant that their child could live with them. And those people could not have been more grateful. And I think that feeling you get of really helping people is enormous. And Moe, maybe you want to talk about some of those successes you had and why they're so important.
No, absolutely. So also I wanted to point out that the national level work is also important for the local level. So today, for example, I'm working for this amazing organization, U.S. Institute of Peace. We try to increase our capacity, the U.S. capacity to manage international conflict and resolve it, and resolve international conflict. So by resolving international conflict, we make the U.S. more secure. It's a national security matter, right?
Right.
So, they all are linked in a way or another. So for that reason, I would definitely encourage North Dakotans who are really interested in local politics, national politics, or international politics. Somewhat, they're all linked today. And I watched one of your Hot Dish episode with Cindy McCain, and you were talking about human trafficking and all of that. And I was thinking how that is like, yes, local in North Dakota, in America it happens, but also it's like sometimes you find international, network of people working in the same field, right? Mm-hmm. And that would also affect us in one way or another. So I would definitely encourage people, not only, you can have, when you're in college sometimes, not everyone in college, when you're in college you have those big ideas, but like by interning for the senator, you would definitely have a great understanding of maybe what direction you want to head. Just quickly to answer your question, because of my internship with the U.S. Senator, in Washington, D.C., I was interviewed by Roll Call, and we published this incredible article, me and U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp. And then they read about, USIP read about me, and when they read the article, they were like, wow, he's interested in foreign policy and specifically in conflict prevention. So they invited me to come to visit USIP. And I did. I came. I visited. After that, I was I stayed, in contact with them until this job opened. I applied, and they were like, "Yes, we know who that is," and I got the job. One thing leads to another, and I think, as you mentioned, it's not just about politics. It's about almost everything. That's the U.S. Congress, right? So,
well,
yeah, definitely.
I have to also mention that Moe became a naturalized citizen when he was working with us, and he pretty much got adopted by everybody in the office. We have a very family kind of feel to what we do, and it becomes a lifelong commitment. You become part of the team and part of the family that we create, and we watch with just enormous pride, Moe, your accomplishments, but there's a bunch of people in Fargo who take credit for you, so you just need to know that. They're like your second mothers. Anyway,
I'm going to say one thing. Once you're a team, once you're like a Heidi Heitkamp team, then you're forever Heidi Heitkamp.
You are. So you can't get out of the vortex. It's like a black hole. You can't get out.
Exactly.
We'll suck you in and we won't spit you out. Alexis, so we're going to give you the last word on making a pitch to young people like yourself who may not see themselves as somebody who would come to Washington that would want to do this work, but did. And so make a pitch for me.
Make a pitch. Just bring someone in.
Yeah.
I think I'd just say that you don't need to love politics in order to come get amazing experience. If you are willing to work hard, be a leader, and you want to get involved with public service and really work to give back, then this is the place to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that these experiences make such a difference on how we can, I think, benefit not just the citizens of North Dakota, but how we can help grow leadership, leaders like Moe and leaders like you who will then go out into the community and hopefully build a better world for all Americans. And so I want to thank both of you for your participation, for your internship. That's this episode of The Hot Dish. We hope we get many, many more applications as a result of this and it doesn't have to be with me. Senator Hoeven takes interns, Congressman Kramer takes interns. You say, well, I don't want to work for Heidi Heitkamp. Then make an application and be an intern with Senator John Hoeven. I would be remiss not to mention that one of Senator John Hoeven's interns became Miss America, Kara Munn, and we're very excited about her interest in public service going forward too. So, just the experience is worth it, and I hope you take the opportunity because it exists. So that's this episode of The Hot Dish.